Usually I search for historic sites associated with Native Americans in very remote, inhospitable, and difficult to get to places. However, this video is different because it shows you a place you can go to experience Native American history outdoors that is easy and safe to go to, and where you can still have a little bit of adventure. In fact, this is an especially good place to take the kids. Since lots of families go to South Lake Tahoe on vacation anyhow, this is a very convenient spot for kids to have some adventure and to do some learning at the same time. They can learn about the Washoes, who were the original inhabitants of the area, a little about archaeology, and also learn about reading maps. Information about the Washoe history and culture can be easily found online at sites such as Wikipedia. At the end of this video, I will provide detailed maps showing the locations of 30 bedrock mortars and 2 grinding slicks. You can even make a game out of hunting for these features. For example, offer your kids a reward for each bedrock mortar they discover. You could also offer a bonus for every animal that they see and can correctly identify. All of the bedrock mortars on the map that I provide can be found without any removal of dirt or ground cover. One of the main bedrock mortar sites is adjacent to one of the trails that you'll be on, but most of the other locations require that you venture off the trail and do some exploring on your own. At the end of the video, I provide some directions on how to print a paper copy of the map, which will make finding the mortars much easier. Before starting down the trail on your adventure, here are the directions for getting to the park. Good morning, this is StocktonDan. I'm going to be your guide today on this little adventure. Right here are the restrooms adjacent to the parking lot. And here's a little signboard that describes the trail, and up ahead is the trail that we're going to be going on. Make sure you take this entrance to the trail so that the following directions, the subsequent directions, will be correct. So anyhow, we're off for a day of adventure looking for bedrock mortars. There's quite a few of them in the meadow that we're going to be in. It's just a question of trying to find them, because while this is a public area, it's a public park, and there are a lot of bedrock mortars in this park, none of them are officially marked in any way. So you have to look for them in order to actually be able to find them. And that's sort of the fun. See how many that you can find today. I'll provide some clues and see how well you can follow those clues. Okay, from the parking lot, we've been hiking down this main trail that you see right here. Very obvious. And on our right-hand side, there's been this pole fence. Now you can see there's a slight trail, not very well defined, right at the end of the fence, running down in that direction. That's the trail that you want to take right there. And follow it down to the trees where you'll find the creek. At the creek, there are 2 directions that you can go. One is across this little bridge that goes over the creek, and then there's a trail, goes up by those rocks, up to where that big pine tree is. There's a couple of big pine trees right there. And then beyond the pine trees, there's a big meadow. So that's the first direction that you can go. And you can go all the way through the meadow and loop around and then come back essentially to this point. Or instead, you can go off this direction and go the opposite way. Bedrock mortars are almost always found near some source of water. It can be a small stream like this one, or it could be a natural lake, a river, or a spring. Another thing that is usually found in the vicinity of bedrock mortars is a relatively flat area, large enough for some sort of settlement. The third thing necessary for bedrock mortars is bedrock that is fairly flat, large enough, and situated so that someone could either sit on the rock or sit next to it and be able to comfortably pound or grind the acorns, seeds, or other food material. Here are several very well defined bedrock mortars. There's 3 that stand out real clearly, but there's a couple others, 2 others at least, that are also present, which are more difficult to see until you get down real close and do some examination. Here's one that becomes more plain as you get closer. You can see that it's all filled with gravel right now. Actually, the decomposed granite from the surrounding bedrock. But that's a bedrock mortar also. And not far away is another rock, relatively small rock, right through that brush over there, and that's got a couple of bedrock mortars on it also. Now there's the trail, and so just a little bit off the trail, there's this rock right here. And you'll notice this area that's much lighter than the surrounding rock. There's a possibility that this is what's called a grinding slick. And you'll see that it's not perfectly round like a mortar, but it has a more oblong shape to it. And it's very smooth, which indicates that there's been some grinding that has occurred right here. And so it was a way of processing acorns or other seeds, but in a slightly different fashion. More of a rolling pin sort of action across the material, as opposed to a pounding action that would occur in the bedrock mortars, in the round mortars. So this is very likely, like I say, not naturally occurring, but a man-made feature on this particular piece of bedrock. There's another area right here that is similar. It's not as deep, but it is very smooth. Unlike the surrounding rock over here, which is very rough. The granite is very rough. This is very smooth. This almost certainly occurred through some sort of a smoothing process, a grinding process that occurred right there.